Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, I think I'm going to redo my phone. Hold on
You're
one
sideways.
second.
Okay.
There we are. It's starting well already,
Good.
I can tell you this.
Perfect. How you doing?
I'm okay. How are you?
I'm all right. Yeah, the sun is out finally now, so it's getting warmer and makes life a little easier when you can sit in a park and at least get some sun.
Well, A, you look like you're dressed for summer, and it does feel like summer
I
out
did.
there.
I really do feel like it was summer today, so I was like, I'm gonna wear a nice short sleeve shirt.
You look very smart. And as for me, like, I don't know where you're getting your haircut from, but this thing is having a life of its
Oh,
own.
my boyfriend we cut each other's hair on Saturday, and it was already the second time that we did it. So like a month ago, it was like a test run, and it was still really good. And he did a really good job. I know.
He did a great job, honestly.
Shall I send him round?
Yeah, sure. Although I think because I'm getting to the stage right now where I've got to put a bowl on it and just trim around. It's kind of, listen, I feel like at least at my age I have hair, so I got to be thankful for that.
True. No, but you look great. Yeah, your
Thank
hair
you.
looks fine.
Thank you.
Yeah. So for everyone that's joining, this is Duncan from Stewart and Whitley Casting. Do you want to tell us a little bit about who you are and what do you do?
Well, first of all, can I just say that I was thrilled when I first joined this to actually hear, the opening of Hadestown.
I know. I mean, I've got a soundtrack in the background. I
I
love the show. I mean, I haven't seen it. I was meant to go to New York in 2 weeks for the Tonys, and that was one show that I really was excited to kind of get to see a little bit.
Well, I mean, I love that show. It's very near and dear to my heart, to obviously my business partner, Benton Whitley's heart.
Yeah.
It took about 4.5 years to cast that thing. Whoa, sorry. Oh, God. Hold on. Hold on. Pyrotechnics on my end here. Just 1 second. Yes, that should do it. Here's the thing. Sorry, what was your question again? Remind me again, just so I can get focused after I got this technical malfunction out of the way.
Just about yourself, what you do, and you were talking about Hadestown, which is dear to your heart, the show.
Yeah, so listen, Hadestown is our newest show. Obviously, we cast a few other shows as well. Chicago, the musical, it's coming up on 16, almost 17 years since I've been casting that for the New York production, the national tours. When it was here in London, I did a lot of the American stars that came over here. So that's Chicago. We had Rock of Ages on Broadway playing, which just closed quite recently because of COVID-19. But listen, in terms of Broadway shows, we've done everything from Pippin with Diane Paulus, with we did Great Comet of 1812 with Josh Groban.
I got to see that, which I absolutely love. Yeah.
Did you sit on stage?
No, again, it was at the Tonys when I was there. Was it 3 years ago now? So I just got tickets on the day pretty much.
Do you go to the Tonys quite often?
I try to.
Yeah.
So 3 years ago was the first time. It's just nice to be part of the theater community.
Totally.
I go to the Oliviers and, but it's still nice to see what's coming over and feel part of this like bigger picture of the community, because musical theater is not just London.
No, totally.
So,
I mean, yeah. I've never been to the BAFTA Awards over here. I've never been to the Oliviers. I really would like to. But so anyways, yeah, so that's Great Comet. Yeah. Pippin, which we did with, Diane Paulus at ART. We did La Cage aux Folles with Kelsey Grammer from Cheers, and of course his own show too. And then we've done a host of other shows as well. On the Town, another Broadway show. We do a lot of new plays. We do a lot of indie film stuff with Joey in my office heading up that arm. And we do a lot of regional stuff. In the States from, Bay Street, where Scott Swartz, son of Stephen Swartz, is the artistic director. Yeah. So we do work with him. We do work for the Alley Theater in Texas. We do work for Tuts. We do work for the Hollywood Bowl. We had a whole production of Sunday in the Park with George. It was going to happen this summer. Of course, all this has come crashing down a lot of it for us, but we still have great relationships with all these people. And, for what I wanted to do was I wanted to have an office where we worked equally. I mean, when we first start out the gate, just like actors, you may get typecast as a musical theater actor. And then all of a sudden you're like, no, I want to do plays. Well, the same thing happens to a casting office. I wanted to do more plays, and I wanted to do more sort of, as opposed to just musicals, I wanted to do straight drama, straight theater as well. And then just recently, last year, we formally got into film and TV with Joey. And interestingly enough, we got our first sort of major TV show coming out in September via Netflix called Tiny Pretty Things. It's all about ballet dancers.
Cool.
Yeah, it's sort of like ballet dance. It's sort of like Gossip Girl meets Black Swan.
Okay. Oh wow, that's gonna be cool.
It's like a whodunit.
Have you seen bits of it?
Yeah,
Already?
I actually saw the first cut. I mean, here's what they wanted to do. We were charged with New York and London casting. And we actually hired a girl from here. Her name's Daniela Norman.
Yeah,
She's
I think we had some people typing for that.
You did.
Yeah.
You did.
Yeah.
And we saw, because they were like, New York. I'm like, well, let's not open up to New York. Let's look in Canada. Let's look in the States, obviously.
Yeah.
And then I said, and lots of great, towns out of London. Well, we did it all by tape at the beginning and saw hundreds of people. And we actually cast a lot of that on Instagram. It was one of our big sort of Instagram casting moments. But they wanted ballet dancers who, not just musical theater people who could do ballet, but we're talking women on point easily, but who also could act and look handsome and
which is
sexy.
a good challenge. It's hard challenge on it because there's so many dance movies, and sometimes the dancing is beautiful.
Yes,
but the acting is lacking a little bit. So it's a hard one to cast. Ballet dancers.
It's a hard one to cast. And I have to say this. So having seen, you asked me to see some of the cut. It's wonderful seeing these actors go from a scene and then into a 1 or 2 minute full out choreographed dance sequence with full out ballet moves, and then pop out of it and go back into the scene with no splicing. There is no body dub. There's no body doubles. There's no 6 pirouettes, and then you cut to the actor fake sweating. It's the real deal, and as a result, it's seamless and it's beautiful and it's also artistic. So I'm very happy. So that's sort of what our office does, our New York casting office. And I should say also too, we do a lot of work here in London too and other places, because one of our biggest clients is Royal Caribbean Cruise Lines, and we do all their Broadway, book shows, from Hairspray, We Will Rock You, Saturday Night Fever, Cats, Grease, all of that. Mamma Mia.
You're definitely busy enough. When the world runs as normal, you're definitely busy.
Jeez, I'm like, on March the 12th and 13th, we were in final auditions for Hadestown, the national tour. And then all of a sudden it just closed, and one by one, hey guys, I hate to tell you, hey guys, we had really hoped and planned to keep on, hey guys, I'm like, oh no. Yeah. So I sort of just got used to getting bad news. But of course, as I say to all my staff and certainly to myself, getting news that a show has stopped or finished is heartbreaking.
Of course.
But even though I got the virus myself at the very beginning, it wasn't, knock on wood, life-threatening. My heart goes out to all those people where COVID-19 is not about losing a show. It's about losing a soul, losing a loved one. That's where I go. It's obviously painful to hear all that.
Yeah. No, but going back, like I was going to say, I love what you guys do, because you do such a big variety. And sometimes in London, casting directors tend to box artists and think they're just musical theater. They can't do Shakespeare. They can't act. And this is a conversation that I have with a lot of our clients, a lot of graduates, because we tend to push our clients to different genres, obviously, if they have the skill set. And I love that you guys do so much, because it makes it so much easier that you might see someone for something and you might see them for something else completely different, and you get to really see what they can do.
Totally. And I've always said this, about when we first started up our casting office, again, people wanted to, pigeonhole us. You're a musical theater, and and then, well, how can you do musical theater? How can you do Shakespeare? You're musical theater. Oh, just watch us. Or you can't do film and TV. Just watch us. And it's the same thing. What I say to actors too. I mean, I don't care if one of the actors that we cast is on board a ship a million miles in the sea, or in Canada, or in Alaska, or in London, or in Chichester, or La Jolla Playhouse. We don't judge our talent. I do not judge my cast. I don't say Broadway is better than a cruise ship production. And I do not judge my actors. I mean, there are actors who are brilliant at musical theater who are fucking great, if I can use that expression.
Of course you can.
who are fucking great actors, and maybe don't even know it yet. And I'm also like, I do not rest on my laurels as a person or as a casting director. I turn over every single rock to find people. I don't rely on lists. And sometimes I'll put people on lists in the creative team like, really? I thought she's only a singer. No, she's a great actor.
Wait until she comes in.
Yes, and people want that kind of surprise,
But I think that's why you do so well as a casting director, because then producers, companies realize that you're really good at what you do and that you don't just go the easy way, but you really go the hard way and do your job 120%.
I have to say, it's been one of the philosophies of our company to really do that, to turn over rocks, to find new people, to find surprises. I think one of the best things that we ever went through, I love all the shows we cast, but there was a moment when we were casting Pippin, and it was right down at the end. And Steven Schwartz, and the room was filled with all the producers and all the assistants. I mean, it felt like, the Last Supper of casting. And an actor went out the door, and Steven Schwartz stopped because I just want to stop the session to say something. I was like, oh my God, what is he going to say? And he just said, and everyone in the room took a breath. He says, Duncan and Benton, I've cast so many shows and been a part of these auditions, for multiple years now. But my question for you is, where the hell are you finding these people? He goes, I've worked with other people.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing the flavors and the types and the bodies and the voices. Like, where are you finding these people? And he said, this is why I joined the theater, to be surprised and to have the hairs raised on my arm. Well, when he said that to Benton and I mean, the hairs rose on my arm. And it was one of those moments I'm like, I guess we're doing something right. I mean, to me, as a casting director, I want to surprise audiences, and I certainly want to surprise my creative team. I don't want to, again, rely on my laurels or sit on my haunches and just go, yep, there's what she can do, because I've seen her 15 times before. What can they do differently that nobody knows about? That's exciting.
Yeah, that's one of the questions I actually had. What was the hardest show to cast? And I think Pippin probably is one of them. I heard that when you were so Aida Cruises was in New York, and I knew that you worked for them as well. And I'm good friends with the casting team over there because I used to work for them. Long story short,
first of all, I should have said too, we love Aida. We love Aida. Those people are amazing human beings.
Yeah.
I wish my German was better so I could, although their English is phenomenal, but I wish my German was better. But, again, we're so lucky to work with great people, and I love everybody at, everybody.
Yeah, they're a good company. I used to choreograph for them, so that's years ago. So that's how I got to know everyone in the casting team, and everyone is so nice and so good. So they've become friends of mine, But I know that back then they were in New York at the same time Pippi was recasting, and they were saying that the show is so hard because you have to find actors who can sing and dance and acrobats, and it was just crazy.
Well, it was so funny because for that one on opening night, and it was glorious, but I had this sick pit in my stomach for opening because I'm like, I love the show. It's sort of perfection. It's so magical. How the hell do we recast this when people start to go or get injured? I literally was going, how do we do this? And it was funny because at the beginning, nobody quite knew how the balance was going to be. So just like Tiny Pretty Things, and I even said this, I used the Pippin example to them. I said, listen, I know what you're hoping for. Let's try for it. But you may have to have body doubles at the end of the day if you love somebody who's an actor and they're not quite the dancer you need. Well, I remember at the beginning, people were like, they almost do Fosse, and they almost sing like, they must, sing like amazingly, and they almost, act and do magic and do acrobats. Well, we were working with this company by the name of Set Duat out of Montreal. It's not about pretty acrobats like Cirque du Soleil. It is kamikaze acrobats. And so I remember our first open call was on Easter Sunday in New York City. As you do. As one does. I mean, really, it's like Easter, really. But and I think we saw 1,600 acrobats walked in the door. And by that time, we narrowed it down to like 24 or 25 that could do the acrobats, sort of, that Gypsy Snyder Set Duat wanted. Well, then we put them in a room to do the Fosse. Well, 25 turned into like 8. And then we asked them to sing, which turned into 2, but basically 1.5. And then I tried to get this one guy to like read lines, I think instead of Pippin, the musical, he said pick up the musical, like a pickup. There's no man or woman left standing at the end of that. And then we had to realize it's not going to be about that. If you want the acrobats, they have to be top tier. And if they can kind of give you a jazz or a Fosse hand, we'll use it.
We'll take that.
If they can, but that means my 4 singers who are Fosse dancers, they have to be fucking amazing singers and amazing at the Fosse. And somehow it all blended together, but it was a very intricate puzzle. Yeah. And even when we were trying to do, recalls for that, sorry, not recalls, recasting. It was like, I'd find all these people on tape and I'd say to the producers, all right, these are the top 8. And they'd be like, okay, you fly them in. So we flew them in from Australia, from Czechoslovakia, from France, from England, from Montreal. And they would fly down. We would do these circus sort of workshops, boot camps for like 2 days or 3 days on stage. And that's a lot of money for producers to pay to fly. But it was the only way we could see in the room physically, are they going to be right for this company? can it give us all that we need? And also, too, finally, it's a dangerous show if you don't know what you're doing. You can't be fosseeing into somebody being thrown through the air. It'd be a mess.
But I guess that must be like almost the scary thing when you finalize the original Broadway cast and you're like, great, this is the best. And then you think, how are we going to recast this? This is the best of the best. If so, something so complex, how are we going to get to do it again in a year or 2 years?
It was, yes. I don't have a lot of gray hair, but I certainly got quite a few on that show. But every show, I think, has its inherent problems. I mean, I will say this about Hadestown. I mean, yes, some of the instruments that have to happen and the vocal parts are very specific, and can they sing that style? And Anais Mitchell, just like, Sarah Bareilles, though they don't write easy music. It is hard. Yeah. All the syncopation and all the rhythms and all that kind of stuff and the subtleties. And, for us, even with Hadestown, it's like, it's its own special beast. But I will say the difference between that show and a lot of the others that I work on, it's so inclusive. So a lot of times in these shows, you have these creative teams who are like, honey, I love her, but, that's just not the right body type that we need. Or, and sometimes, and I have sat on so many panels, and it's slightly going off topic here, but I'll tie it in. Yeah. I've sat on panels before where I've looked at the creative team and I'm like, I put up my hand, especially since the whole Me Too movement has made us much more emboldened to, sticking up for people. And I'll be like, guys, we're 8 people on a panel. We're all white. We're all gay. Why are we judging, or not me, but why are we judging this young woman who's just walked out of the room with this young man? Like, it's all about, it's about diverse casting. It's about being inclusive, not diversive. And I just will say this: you sit down with a pen and paper when you see actors come in for Hadestown. It doesn't matter if they're tall or short or hefty or skinny or or good looking or not good looking or whatever. You do not write down. You don't have to write down body type. It doesn't matter. It's all about the talent and, quite frankly, unicorns. So if you're a 6'5", skinny unicorn who sings gloriously and can do weird stiff with your body as you dance, you're in. It's refreshing to have such a wonderful and generous spirit on the table of Hadestown. It doesn't always happen, as we all know.
Yeah. Cool. So moving on, I have some questions for you that we, clients and people wrote in once we announced we're doing this with you. So let's crack on these. So the first question, because of course you put stuff in the UK and the US, so you know very well both markets. And I think you're one of the major casting directors that does so much in both markets. How does the audition process differ between the two?
Well, it's interesting. I should also just say too that I'm originally from Canada, so I'm from Vancouver. And so it's interesting to sort of having auditioned now, and I have friends who live in Canada or live in Australia or certainly live in the UK and all of that. It's all different wherever you go. Although I will say, and maybe it's because of the Commonwealth, Canada and Australia are more similar to London than London is, let's say, to New York or the US.
To New York.
Here's the deal. There's pros and cons to both. I would say that because of the sheer amount of volume that happens in New York City, you can audition easily 11 times per week, because New York is the mega center, and also just America's so huge, and also internationally people go there too. So you can be auditioning left, right, and center almost 6 days a week, 7 days a week. Yeah. And I think those actors who are in it in New York City, their audition skills are so honed. And also, listen, the good part about New York City that I do like is it's New York. Things are fast and furious, like a 16-bar cut has to be smart. A 32-bar cut can't be a 33-bar or someone gets mad at you. Yeah. Sit there and allow for the full song to happen. Yeah. And I experienced that here with some creative teams when they're like, I can't believe we're doing this cut. This is not the way we do things over here. Sometimes I think also too over here, there's a politeness, a veneer that happens at the beginning where, hey, and they want a bit of chit chat and maybe a bit of chit chat afterwards. And I like it because it's human, but at the same time, it doesn't work in New York, because in New York, what I always tell actors is, and I think actually it's a good rule of thumb for anybody, but especially in New York, walk in like a business person, do your art like an artist, and leave the room like a business person. And what does that mean? That means being, well, I just love it when actors come in and walk over, hey, everybody, and they walk over to the company. It's like, okay, I'm going to start here. I'm going to start
This is what I'm going to do, and they're prepared.
Yes. Yeah. And that's a skill unto itself, working with the accompanist in such a fast and furious, sort of manner. And when you watch an actor, or a singer, whoever, execute that with style and with precision, already it's before they even sung, you're like, that's an artist, that's a musician who knows exactly what they want. Already it instills confidence. And they walk in front of us, there's no need to announce a song, unless they say, what are you going to sing today? And then they jump right into it. And then they sing a very, very smart cut, not just the high part at the end, which we have all heard, and we all get tired of at 3 p.m. because there's always people just screaming at us, but some smart cut that shows hills and valleys. And then at the end, thanks everybody, and they leave. And let us chase you. Don't stand there. So I just sort of find that it's interesting. The other biggest sort of difference is this need in the UK to memorize. In the States, it doesn't matter if it's just, I mean, maybe when you've had
So for you, it's
auditions,
okay if they hold a piece of
it's
paper
not only
with the
okay,
lyrics. And...
our directors say, I don't care about your memorization. You're not acting for me right now. You're memorizing lines. Get your script. So actors over there, they always, even if they have it all memorized, they still hold it in front of them. And it just reminds the team that it's an audition. It's not a performance. And I see that all the time, you know, when actors come in here to audition for me, and I'm like, you can grab your sides. No, it's okay. I think I've got it. I'm like, I don't really care if you've got it or not. I'd rather see you have it so you can act in front of me. Not
so you can focus on the acting and not worrying about the words.
Totally. Like in the States, it's almost the complete opposite. If you come in having it memorized, it looks green because they want to see a person hold the script and be able to play and
because they're probably thinking as well, you know, you're thinking, well, how many auditions have you had? Maybe you haven't done anything in the last 2 weeks that you had time to memorize this.
Completely. You know, and I think it's also it too, like there was once a person who said, I don't necessarily know if I agree with this entirely, but there's some merit into what this person said. He said, treat auditions like a bank transaction. You know, you stand at the cash point or the ATM, you stick in your business card, boop, 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 you get your money out and you leave. There's no time, you know, with what you said earlier, like that's what a pro does because they've got 18 other auditions during the day. When we see people having underlined things or marked their beats, I mean, that's all important, but then take a clean script and don't let me see that because I'm like, oh, I can tell she's got nothing to do other than color her thing in markers and write beats. The rest of the actors are too busy jobbing around, you know, for their next gig and getting them.
Yeah. So you would say, so New York, it's a lot quicker than London and a lot brutal, maybe, like less bullshit, more straight to the point.
Absolutely. Like far less bullshit, straight to the point. Here's the thing. I mean, I know whenever I sit even in a cab here, and the cabbies always ask me the pace versus, you know, America or New York versus London. Nobody likes to hear it when I say it's faster over there, but I don't think it's actually faster. I think it's listen, I'm Canadian. I'm a Canadian and American now, but Americans have a certain way of doing things. It is very in your face. It is very pushy. It's very aggressive. So I think it's not about faster or slower. It's about a mindset and a mind frame. It's pushy. And if you don't push back a little bit, then you'll get swallowed up in all of it. So it's more of a mental mind frame, I think. And a paradigm as opposed to New York being faster than London. But also I just will say this: talent is talent is talent. I mean, the talent over here is extraordinary. And I also have to say too, the amount of triple threats here, like especially with young men and young women. I mean, honestly, I see these dancers come in, and I think actually the dancing has become better in the last 8 years in London than ever was before. I mean, you come to a dance call here, and people's mouths drop. I mean, they can execute. I mean, and across the board, whether it be tap or contemporary or whatever.
There's some school out there that they make machines, you know, and I see these graduates nowadays, and they can sing, they can dance, they can act, they can tumble, they have a 12-pack, they're gorgeous. I'm glad I retired. I couldn't compete against that.
Please, I know, it's so true. And yet I also have to say too, it doesn't. It's not the same as in New York. Obviously, we've got a lot of great people in New York, but I just have noticed out here that London has really upped its game, and the training is like phenomenal, and the talent that I've always brought away from London has been like great, and people are astounded.
Cool. So next question: what's been the hardest show ever to cast? So I know we talked about Pippin a little bit. Would you say that was the hardest show you've ever cast?
Every show is hard to cast for its different reasons. I mean, Chicago. We do a lot of star casting for Chicago. It is hard to get stars after a show has been around that long. to want to do 6 weeks on Broadway. And usually people that we go after are film and TV/music people.
Yeah.
And the money for a pop star, for one appearance is through the roof. And that's, we can't offer that for even like an 8-month run on Broadway. So I think star casting for Chicago is extremely tricky, or for any show for that matter. A show has its life, and then you want a star to jump in for Josh Groban. You want a star to jump in after Kelsey Grammer. So I think that makes it hard. I think all the shows, like Great Comet, everyone had to basically play an instrument and not just fake it, but really, really play it and be physically active and be the unicorns.
And it was a big cast as well, right? I mean, how many people were on stage?
Like 35.
I just remember there was like a lot of people.
I want to say like just under 40, but that's probably including some people off stage as well.
Okay.
But we gave so many Broadway debuts for that. And that was hard because Rachel Chapman did not want musical theater people. She wanted people, musicians and buskers, and they sing in the tube and they sing in the subway, that kind of vibe. I think of On the Town, where we worked with Josh Brigas, and Josh Brigas was like, he wanted ballet dancers, but because he's kind of a small, muscular kind of guy, he didn't want tall and leggy sort of Rockette types or Susan Stroman types. He wanted, boxy sort of athletic dancers, more like so you think you can dance kind of stuff.
Yeah, like tight dancers.
Totally. And then I flipped in gears entirely. So Fiasco's theater production of Into the Woods, which they actually did here at the Chocolate Factory, we did the U.S. national tour of that. And again, they wanted to strip down the music from Sondheim. They wanted actors, first and foremost, who could play all these multiple instruments, the cello, trumpet, it's guitar, etc. So that was tricky because it wasn't your typical musical theater person they were looking for. They were looking for something very, very different. So I think every show is different based upon the demands. I mean, I'll go back to Chicago again. There's so many great dancers who come into audition for Chicago and can't get the Fosse, because Fosse is about storytelling. When you say whoopee spot, you can't just do this. It's like that has to be done
specific and clean.
Clean.
Yeah.
And that's and Velma. That's the hardest role I think to cast out of any Broadway show, because she needs to be a true triple threat, and she has to be smart. And also too, the role can tend to be played bitchy, but Velma can't be bitchy. Otherwise, the glue of the show is gone. So I know it's a roundabout way of saying everything's tricky and hard, but it's sort of just true,
Yeah. Cool. All right. So next question: how much of TV and film produced in the US is cast in the UK?
Oh, this is an interesting question. I would have to say, I'm going to take a jump. I'm going to take a guess at this. It's probably quite a bit, but also probably not a lot at the same time. Like, I think what happens is, I think somebody crests here. I mean, who's that young woman now that's in Normal People? Daisy Edgar Jones. You know this actor I'm speaking about?
No.
Well, she's this British actress, and she's playing this Irish woman in the show called Normal People. I'm almost positive it's called Normal People. Phenomenal series. And she's like number 8 on IMDb now after this season, and now that it's being played on Hulu. So I guess what happens is, I think, like Claire Foy, no one knows who Claire Foy is until Claire Foy becomes Claire Foy. And then all of a sudden she's cast a lot. I think what happens with a lot of young actors, before they've crested in this way, it's hard because of the whole immigration in the States and the whole actors' equity sort of reciprocal agreement. I think it's it was getting easier. Then we have Trump, and that's a whole other story. Yeah.
Because I know, like, for musical theater with equity, there's always has to be a swap, and it's expensive for producers as well.
It's expensive. And also, too, here's one caveat. I get a lot of letters, and I meet with a lot of people who are from London or from Australia, and they're like, oh, I've got my O1, it's okay, I can work here. And I'm like, wait. Until you have your green card or your citizenship, nothing is guaranteed. One company may say, yes, we'll take you on your O1 rather, and hire you, and then tell you, yes, or even your lawyer may say to you, it's not a good advice, not sound advice. Yes, you can work for other stuff. But if these production companies do not want to hire you on an O1, they don't have to, they won't. And everybody in the States has been burnt. I have been burnt too, where I'm like, we've hired somebody, and this is many, many years ago, but hired somebody, they did another production, and all of a sudden I found out they're French and not allowed to work in the country. And we were first day in rehearsal. So everybody's been burned. They're very cautious. and they just want to, unless it says green card or unless it says American citizen on there, it's hard, especially for actors who are young and new to the business. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, if you're, Michael Ball, I'm sure you could get a job in, easily.
Yeah. Okay. So next question. On average, how many submissions do you get when casting a show, and how do you prioritize?
Okay, so first part of it is it depends on the show. So when we did a release for Hairspray, the national tour, about maybe 3 months ago, and the submissions were insane, through the roof of how many people applied for that. Now, and were submitted for that. Now, I'll also say conversely, when we were first doing Hadestown, people couldn't pronounce it. They didn't know Anaya, who's that? And our actual submissions were actually quite, everyone knew who Rachel Chavkin was. But our submissions were kind of low. And then, of course, when it became the hit that it did and won all the Tony Awards, all of a sudden for the national tour, people knocking on the door to get in.
Yeah.
So it can depend. It can depend. Chicago, because everyone knows I have a whole bunch of people that have done the role before. Those submissions tend to be less.
I think with Chicago, it's almost easy to cast the ensemble. Same thing in London when he played last time. They just wanted to see people that had done the show before, which totally makes sense. When a show is such a classic and there's so many people that have done it, and you need mature performers, that works.
It totally works. And there's people around that know it and have it in their bodies, and there's people that they've trained that trained in Fosse style. But to give an example, when we were auditioning for the role of Pippin in Pippin the musical, I think we saw at least 1,300 or 1,400 men for that one role.
Wow.
And then we hired a British guy, Matthew James Thomas, who we did get, although it was hard, and green cards and letters of recommendation, all that, but we did get him to work for us. It was also helpful because he'd been working for Spider-Man in New York City too. But so it can be a hell of a lot of submissions, or it varies.
Yeah.
And then when you said about how do we select?
How do you prioritize? Yeah.
Now,
who you invite, I guess.
So in our office, it's very important. I think this goes back to Stephen Swartz saying, where are you finding these people? Sure, we can put out the breakdown like we put it on Spotlight or Breakdown in the States and get some nice plump submissions from agents that I love and respect, and then take a gamble on a few that I don't quite know that agents I respect sort of submit to me. But I don't just want to present. That's just easy, it's easy. Yeah. So we do a lot of pre-screens in our office. And these pre-screens now are starting to move more and more online via self-tape submissions. So that's all changing. I think actually as we move forward, once we're now as comfortable on the Zooms and the Instagrams and all of that, there's going to be more and more and more of this.
Move forward more like this, yeah.
Yeah, but but even a year ago, we did. We tried to do for a big Broadway show at least 5 days of pre-screens where everybody we do not know that we sort of taking chances on. And even some that we do know, but she probably doesn't know the version that we're looking for of what we need here. So we'll bring her in. And sometimes we get agents pushing back and saying, hold on here, my client has done this, this, and this. They're not going to come into pre-screen. I'm like, it will benefit your client if they know the world that the creatives are creating. If they come in directly for the director, they're not going to get it. They're going to do this, and there's going to be an instant no. So I leave it up to you, Mr. Agent or Mrs. Agent. And they're like, okay, they'll come in. But I think, so once we have our submissions, some agents, some managers in there, we do 5 days of pre-screens. We'll do these open calls, the EPAs as they're called in the States, equity principal auditions, even equity course calls auditions, ECCs. And then generally after that first week and a half of casting, or first 2 weeks, what we start showing to the associates and the assistants are a mixture of agent submissions, a lot of open calls, and yes, some people from the pre-screens that we've done, and a lot of people from the pre-screens. So it's a mix. And what I love is it's a sort of this special kind of stew or this mixture where when that the final, when it's the final couple of weeks and the director's finally in the room and the producers come in, you're like, I know that she'll or he will know this person, but they won't know number 3. They'll never even know it's going to hit them when number 10 comes in. Do you know what I mean? That's where it becomes really, really, and that's also what it becomes exciting for. They may want a Caucasian girl in a blue dress who's blonde, and then I bring in a man who's 5'4", who's phenomenal and can do things that maybe the other people can't. I love seeing this, and sometimes people go like, "Why did you bring?" Just wait.
Yeah.
you
That's
know,
cool.
maybe you won't agree with who I brought in
Yeah.
from time to time, but I think it's good to push the
But then you've
envelope.
done your job right by finding someone that maybe is out of the box that could still fit the part.
It's like Rachel, when we were looking for Pippin's, you know, Catherine, and we saw every ingenue on Broadway, and the women were lovely and delightful and young and, you know, ingenue.
Yeah.
It was all boring until we brought Rachel Bay Jones in, and we're like, why can't a mid-30s woman fall in love with a 19-year-old boy? And what does
Yeah.
that chemistry look like? And that also led to us going, why does Bertha need to be an 80-year-old grandmother on crutches? Why can't she be sort of a cougar like
Yeah.
Andrea Martin and swing on a trapeze? And the agent at that point in time says, listen, she does not want to come out in a cane. She wants to be fired out of a cannon. I'm like, oh my God.
All right, we'll make it happen.
Diane Paulus is going to love this. So, you know, so I think that's how we call it down. Does that explain that sort of process?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think so.
Okay.
So what's the process when you're casting 2 shows at the same time? And who chooses when someone is right for both shows? I think this applies as well for a lot of the royal stuff that you cast in London, that sometimes people will go in for We Will Rock You in Greece at the same time.
Yes. Well, and also too, you know, like it brings up an interesting problem. So we now have, it's Benton and myself, there's Joey, there's Sam, and there's Luke. And then we have Samantha, who's our assistant. Quite often we'll have a staff, not as much anymore, but there are times when May, June, July are so busy. And we'll have a staff meeting, or I'll see a list go by on someone's project, and I'll be like, you can't take her. You can't. Like, you can't. What do you mean she's in the finals? She is the only person I have for this. Or, so we now have to sort of fact check those things to make sure that that doesn't happen. But, you know, so in other words, to answer this question a couple different ways, I never want to rob one show blind. Like, I don't want to rape and pillage. I really don't. And even to, like, when Pippin was on Broadway and we were auditioning, yes, I wanted to give everybody in Chicago a chance to audition, to flex their muscle, but I was very leery about ripping apart my Chicago team to fill the shoes of Pippin's requirements. But I think also, too, you know, to sort of get to your point about casting, like, let's say we're casting, you know, Grease and We Will Rock You. Sometimes it's just about a type. So people may assume that a Danny is a Kanicki, is a Tony, is a Sky, is a, you know, Galileo. But actually they're not. The Galileos have to have a bit more of a quirky edge to them. Yeah. Danny can't be saccharine. He has to have a backbone. But Danny's not a bad boy. Kanicki is. Yeah. And Tony may be a bit more of a man than a boy. But Tony also too just can't be a dumb jerk comedic figure. He's got to have heart, and he's got to care about Stephanie Mangano. Yeah. So I think what happens is these actors come in and they're like, oh, she could be right for this, this, and this. Let's put her through the process. And then as the process goes, you know, the dance.
You kind of see what they're right for, and that personality comes out, and that particular things and skills.
Totally. Like, you know, maybe if it's Scaramouche, well, she's more musical theater. She's not as pop as we've found out. She's really, really good for, you know, Sandy, but she's got so much dance. She actually would be more valuable as a Marty who has to be a real dancer covering Sandy, because the other Sandy that we really like can't dance at all, but she's a great actress. So it all has a way of sort of sifting itself out. And then sometimes at the end of the day, there are arguments. There are times when I will say to Benton, I know you want her for that, but I need her for this, and here's why. And then he'll say the same thing to me. Or in the case of Royal Caribbean, guys, I know you're both fighting for that person. We're not going to do a toying, you know. but if you want her for this, then what about those two people that you wanted? You give to them.
A trade.
So exactly, it becomes a trade. So it's a difficult part of the process, but I always love that part, because that's sort of where I don't want to say art meets commerce, because commerce indicates money, but it's definitely at an intersection where negotiation has to happen, and I kind of dig that part of it.
We do that when we do agents auditions for clients, because obviously in the office now there's 5 of us, and if someone would really like that person, at the end of the day we talk about it and we all make little notes, and so then I'm like, okay, we go through, it's like, you like them, yeah, but you want them, okay, so how about you take this, but I'll take that, and you kind of like compromise and negotiate.
Totally. And listen, if I was an actor and hearing this, I'd be like, I love the people are fighting over me.
Yeah.
I love that people are trying to figure out where I go. Do you know what I mean? Because that means you're in the table, you're in the discussion. And I've told this to actors all the time, even if they don't get the part, or let's say they don't get signed to your management company, like you were on the table, you were being seriously discussed. That is not something and I'm a firm believer that good work begets good work. So if you're being discussed on one table, chances are you're going to be being discussed on other tables, and it's only a matter of time before you land something.
Exactly. You mentioned covers, and I just wanted to say that sometimes in casting, I guess it's so much harder to find a great cover understudy than it is a first cast, because the understudy has to not only do that, but do so much more.
I was reminded time and time again when I was one of my first jobs when I was in high school was that of a dishwasher. And I remember I cleaned the dishes so fast that I would go to the laundry room and organize a laundry room. And then I was so fast at the dishes that I would go into the stock room and turn all the tin cans in one. And I wanted upward mobility. And I remember this female bartender came to me, and she said, "So you really like being in the dish pit?" I'm like, "No, I don't." She goes, "Oh, really?" I said, "No." She goes, "Well, it really looks like you like it." I said, "Well, I'm only doing my job because, I wanted." She says, "They are never going to move you up. You're too invaluable, too good." And there's something to be said for that. So, like, absolutely. I mean, sometimes those understudies, and it's always hard, right? When you do want to reward people. So we do have situations where if the person's been the understudy, and this is going to happen, a lot with shows like Hadestown, stuff like that, where the understudies are so phenomenal. So if the leads step out after the show, exactly, or if the tour comes out, we hope that the understudy or the cover can actually be the lead on the tour. So it's a sense of benevolence. But those covers are invaluable. And I just will also say this, it's like I had to say one day, enough of the dishwashing. I'm saying no to it because I want something better.
I've had that conversation before, with clients, with friends that always get offered, maybe swing with a cover of the lead.
Yes.
You got to get to the point where you say no to that. Say thank you so much, but no, and you make a choice that now you're only going to stick to first cast and go for one of those offers.
It's about being brave. It's about being brave. And listen, if it never works out, you can always go back to that. But I'm always, if that is what your heart and your artistic soul is saying, then break out, be brave and say, no, I'm actually pursuing this.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. So next question, when you only have 16 bars, what's the best way to get your attention?
Well, don't scream your highest note. I think it's important for actors to realize, and singers, that we've been in the room for a very, very long time. And generally in auditions, whether it be a monologue or a scene or whatever, everyone is doing their best to impress us. And that means singing or screaming the highest notes. That means doing monologues for a general session that might be about, oh, my uncle killed my dog, or my mother beat me. So after a while, it's a lot of this. And God bless the person who can come in and go, I'm not going to, run these guys over with my high C's at 3 p.m. They've been here since 10 or earlier. I'm going to start something off with a beautiful pianissimo, and I'm going to build this with craft, and I'm going to show the hills and the valleys. So that instead of like this, the team goes, oh.
Then you get interested.
Yeah, we lean forward instead of leaning back. 16 bars is still a lot of time to show, well, A, craft, but also B, tell a story. It really is.
Exactly.
I would, just like a monologue, I would rather see if people race through a 3-minute monologue, I don't pick up half of it, it feels like an eternity. But if someone actually, does something beautifully and it has me hanging on every single word, I could sit there for 10 minutes because I'm engrossed into it.
Yeah.
So it's not what you do, it's sort of how you do it. I'm never one for showing me your highest note. I'm really not. I think
because there's recourse to do that as well.
Totally.
If they show that they have the talent and they're right for the part, they can do that in the second, third, fourth, fifth recall. But at least if they have 16 bars, show a little bit that you really you can master what you do.
I think it's like a first date, right? I don't want to see everything on a first date. Well, maybe sometimes I do, but but you know what I mean? Like, but generally though,
but not in the first 5 minutes.
Not in the first 5 minutes.
At least after dinner.
Exactly, after a few glasses or bottles of wine. But the thing is like, it's got to be a courtship, and it's got to be smart, right? And you don't want to put all your cards on the table because then there's no discovery. So I'm always like, if you have a massive voice, also trust the people behind the panel. I mean, there's different tastes and blah, 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 and I certainly respect some tastes and don't respect others. But generally, a music director knows, like, yeah, she probably has that.
Yeah.
high C or whatever. He probably has that high A or B flat. You don't need to show it unless
Yeah.
unless you can do it with ease and do it also too with pianissimo and crescendo, something beautiful. Then you're showing your art, but you don't have to show it. Give me a solid F. Give me a beautiful G if you're a tenor. And then you're right. Have the recall to show all the rest of the stuff that you can do.
Yeah, because I know sometimes you do cut people after 4 bars. And I always say, well, because they know what they're looking for. There's no point of them to hear and waste your time and their time listening another, what's the matter, 12 bars, when they actually know that you've sung 4 bars, you're not right for that show.
You know what it is, too? It's hard. It is hard with 4 bars because, again, and whenever we have to do it, specifically for Royal Caribbean, and basically it's a numbers game. There's so many people to see, and because the producers are only paying for so many days in town, we can't give everybody their full due diligence.
Of course.
But that's why I always say to the monitors who run those types of rooms, I say, listen, please let everybody know that we do know what we're looking for. We've also just come from New York City, so we have an idea where things sit, and we're going to do it with grace and humility. Thank them for their art, but they're not right. But as you said, the thing about like Royal Caribbean is like it's 2 shows. So so the Sophie has to sing Mamma Mia, but she's also got to belt out, stuff. It's like when we have Miss Lynch, who's almost a nothing character in Greece, in one of the shows, in Harmony, the ship Harmony, she's got to sing like Beyonce. So all these character actresses come in thinking they can play Miss Lynch, which they can, but they can't say, love on top, baby, I want to, like, love on top.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, oh no. So you're right. We know within 3 or 4 bars that they're right for the program or not.
But vice versa as well. I've had clients going in for audition and cut after 4 bars. They're like, yeah, it went really bad. I got cut after 4 bars. And then we get a recall. And it just shows like either way, you just know.
That is so true. That's right. Like, and also too, people are pressed for time. Like, well, please, we're giving her a call back. Of course we are. Thank you. See you on Tuesday. Or thank you. You'll let us. But no, that can happen too. And that's great when that happens. Because you're right. Actors go in. I mean, that's so hard. The hardest part of being an actor is what happened in the room. And sometimes you just got to how did I do? I don't care if I was cut after 4 bars or after 4 songs.
You just got to go in, do your best.
I do. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So next question, sticking with the Royal auditions. So at your open auditions, do you prefer us to present our own song choice or prepare the material for the part we think we're best suited for?
It depends on what the creative team is feeling on the day and also how much time we have. I think generally people want to hear your own song first, and I always say this, and I have to counsel Royal Caribbean on this sometimes because, of course, people get the packages fairly late. It's new material, and they may not sound good on the We Will Rock You stuff, but they have pop songs that can blow people away. So there's always times in the audition room, in a job of a casting director, where a music director says, nope. You're like, hold on here. I'm looking at their resume. They've got all these chops. Like, can we ask them to sing a song of their own choice? Okay, sure. And all of a sudden they wail out this thing, which is, higher and better than anything that, We Will Rock You has to offer. So it's one of those things where I always think it's so important to have your own song in there. And when, if possible, to lead off with that is very, very useful. At the same time, in a role like Sandy, where they want it to sound a certain way, like light sort of 70s pop, and can she negotiate all that, sort of passaggio area up there, which is, it's a tricky song to sing. They want to just jump right to the meat. Same thing with Galileo. They want to hear We Are the Champions.
So top notes that he can hit that.
Because if you can't hit that, why do we need, I paid my dues. So they want to get right to the meat of it. So it depends on the show, depends on the role, and it depends on timing. I like singing a person's own song first because it shows something of their soul.
Okay. Cool. So next question, what advice would you give to someone who is in an older casting bracket with no musical theater credits, but they believe they have the skill set for the role you're casting for?
So when they say older, this means a person who's like not 19. It's about age.
Someone maybe in their 50s.
Yeah.
So I guess you cast for Mamma Mia, so you must get women of 40, 50 years old that maybe don't have as much musical theater experience, but have done cabarets and they can sing and...
Listen, I mean, if you can sing Winner Takes It All, that is one of the hardest battles. If you were coming in for Flo Monero in Saturday Night Fever, you got to be a good actress, but you also too have to be able to sing 70 sets. So for that role, we're like, do you have cabaret acts that you do on the side? I think it's important just to go for it. If you come in for Harmony's Miss Lynch, you may be a great actor, but if you can't sing the Beyonce, and you can sing stuff from, you know, golden age of musical theater, that's not going to help you.
Yeah.
So I think it's about being smart. Like, what are the requirements of this? Yes, I could play the role, but they also need
be
me to
prepared. Do your research.
do your
Find
research.
out exactly what that role does apart from that role, so that you can make sure that you're right for it, and then just maybe not overthinking, just go in and do your thing.
Exactly, totally,
Yeah.
exactly. And also, I keep saying this to actors all the time. There are actors who come in for a role or for a show who do not get called back, but they're on a list up here and with my pen and my paper for umpteen other projects, or maybe not even my own. Like Joey, I just saw this guy today. He's fantastic. I think maybe he's perfect for Otherworld. You know, so like we're always trying to find people. So you may walk in the room going, I didn't get it, but you may have gotten something else that maybe a year later down the line you'll be called in for. So a good audition is a good audition is a good audition.
Good. Okay, so when delivering a song to the panel, do you have any preferences on focus?
Yes. Unless the panel says, like Rachel Chavkin is like, sing to us, because it's supposed, all her stuff is quite interactive. But generally, don't look at the panel. Unless they ask for it, don't look at the panel. It makes them, it's hard to scribble notes on somebody, or me too, as sort of
when someone's like just staring at you. I know, I get like uncomfortable. I'm just like.
So what I always say is, you know, like, and it's important too, not to sing like you're in the theater. I don't care if you're auditioning for Eponine and Les Mis. In the audition room, you wouldn't sing on my own, pretend, because I can't see any acting. You'd put the eye line right above the panel's head and maybe sing slightly to the right, not so much that you're in profile, but slightly to the right, slightly to the left. And it's interesting too, just because we're doing a lot of online submission stuff, and where do people look like when they're auditioning, like on Zoom or on Instagram like this. I've always said a good little thing that I've been noticing is that people take a Post-it note and they stick it right above the camera, because that generally is where that's where they look, as opposed to up at a camera and they're doing all this stuff like this. They look sort of like right there. It's just a little thing on camera, a different vantage point than when you're actually auditioning in an audition room.
Cool. So do you have any do's and don'ts when someone is auditioning for you? So any pet peeves?
The funny thing is, I'm not a very punitive person. I know there are lots of casting directors who are like, I hate this song. I hate that song. Oh, she's chewing gum. Or, oh, they're doing this. And how could they be dressed like this? I'm just not that kind of person. You know, like for me, you know, somebody can come in and, you know, jeans and a t-shirt and sing beautifully and they're so amazing and let's hire them. And somebody will come in all dressed up so perfectly for the perfect audition and they're just not right, or they just don't jive. I mean, I guess I just go back to like, so it's just like, be a good business person, you know, like that's and be smart
when you come
and
in,
be confident. Like like again, it's like one of those things. So I guess it's like, I don't like wishy-washiness, right? Yeah. I mean, if I'm going in for a job interview, if I as a casting director want to get John Doyle to hire me, or other directors, I do my research. I look presentable and yet comfortable. I can talk about what they've done. I then talk about me. I sell my wares in a way that's not pushy, but is enough that they get to know where I'm coming from. I have ideas about the shows and some roles ready in case they say, well, what do you think about this part? Who would you cast? I have those ready to trip out of my tongue. And I don't keep them waiting too long. You know, the conversation flows. And the minute I started feeling it sad, I'm like, listen, this has been a great, you know, meeting. Thanks so much for meeting us, John or Susan or Karen or whatever. And I think it's the same thing. Like, you know, in the audition room, it is a first meeting. It is a first date. There is a courtship that needs to go on to show your talent, be a business person walking in, talent in the room as the artist, and a business person walking out. And that's what I think more what I want to see. Again, producers and creators are putting a hell of a lot of money and time into these shows. We want to know that there's a confident, secure professional who can more than keep up that curtain. No one's going to invest in someone who's flaky. There's just too much money involved.
Cool.
Is that
so
helpful?
Next question. I guess. Yeah, that was answered.
Okay.
How do headshots differ between New York City and London, and what stands out for you from each?
Well, listen, they're almost very similar right now. I mean, a few years back, there's still a lot more black and white over here versus the color over there. And obviously that's sort of non-existent anymore. I will say this, the biggest thing is for me is that I like to see, and certainly as standard in the United States, is a headshot that has the name at the bottom. And a lot of actors that I see over here, but also young actors coming out of colleges in the States, it's their headshot and there's no name on it. The reason why that's hard is as a casting director, when I'm actually whittling down 180 people to 60 that are staying, It just needs to be, you know, Alan White, Barbara Cummings, Mikey Schultze, and it can't just be Mike, Karen, Peter. You know, it just takes time. Also, too, if your resume comes away from your headshot, which sometimes it does in the heat of the moment, I've got a headshot. Where's the resume? I don't know what this person's name is anymore.
Yeah.
And am I going to like spend 15, unless they're the top of the top, I'm going to be like, well, you know, casualty, gone. You know, fill them in with somebody else. So, but you know, a headshot needs to look like you. Yes, we can all see past a little bit of facial hair for the men, or if a girl's hair's up and then she comes in and it's down, but it has to look like you.
But it has to,
completely. Because here's what's happening is it's like when you buy, and I don't mean to compare actors to products on a shelf, but think about this: if I go and buy, you know, cereal, and I'm looking for sugar-free Alpen, you know, that has no shit in it, I'm going to pick the box that says that. If I go home and open it up and it's sweet cornflakes or it's like sugar flakes or whatever, I'm like,
you're going to be disappointed.
And also I've lost out on my money, and there's many other boxes that I could have chose. It's the same thing with being an actor. If you don't present what is you come into the room, oh my God, she looks so much different than her picture. The creatives are sitting there looking at me, and I feel like, oh my God, they're asking me, why would I ever bring in her for the role or him for the role? It doesn't help you out. So look like your picture, obviously, have your name on it, make it relaxed. It doesn't need to be too posy, you know. I think a lot of times too, a lot of great photographers, I'm always like, oh, I love this new photographer. And then I realize I'm focused more on the street or the wall as their look as opposed to the actor themselves. So
I would say a great photographer is not necessarily a good headshot photographer.
Completely agree.
There's a completely different skill behind it.
Completely different skill. Yeah, totally agree.
So we have a couple of minutes left before we get logged out. So next question, how theatrical should a self-tape for musical theater be?
Well, I see this all the time. You know, it depends on the part that you're going for, but err on less is more, unless you start seeing yourself bland out. I see a lot of musical theater people who try to give a musical theater self-submit tape, and it becomes so, they're so scared of like, I've got to stay in this, and I can't do stuff, that they sort of blank themselves out. It becomes sort of milquetoast. It becomes very vanilla. I still think you have to play the stakes. I think you still have to, like, you know, have high stakes in the audition and make choices. Play the opposites. Play, you know, don't always believe what's on the page. Like if it says, you know, I always tell the truth. Do I? Do I really tell the truth, or how do I say that? You know, so I think it's all about like making interesting choices, making surprise choices. Do not let the stakes go. And yet at the same time, it can't be like Nathan Lane, you know, in the birdcage. But one should not feel stuck by the medium. I see a lot of people being stuck by what they think this represents.
So maybe have the camera a little bit further back, so there is more space for them to perform.
Totally. I always say
it's not TV. You're not looking for this.
Exactly. I always think, you know, people like, I want to see a bit of this. Do you know what I mean? I want to see a bit of torso, not just like it's a talking head. Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I think we have 1 minute, super quick. How important is in these days to be fully active on social media?
Totally important. 100%. Instagram more than anything these days.
So you said you use Instagram to cast.
Yeah. I mean, let's say I'm looking for ballet dancer. Oh, I like the look of her. What has she done? Oh, I really like her. I'm looking for others of her type. So I'll start going through her pictures, like, and then I'll press in. I'll see all the, you know, people that they've tagged them. Like, oh, he's interesting, and I'll direct message all these. I can find 10 people. It's a group shot of all these dancers that I like. I can, you know.
Yeah.
But again, the work has to be good. The clips that you put up there, singing or dancing or acting, have to be good. They can't be long.
I've had clients take off videos from like 5-6 years ago before training. I'm like, that doesn't sound good enough. This is not you now. You take it off.
Totally.
Because you're a business, and your name is the name of that business.
And it needs to be current, because again, it all is so fast. Like, what do I think about her? Ooh, that kick is not there. Nope. Or wow, her extension's amazing. Yes. You know, so I think it's very important. I also think it's important to keep things positive up there. I've had situations before where the creative team has been like, okay, the general manager said that she's been on the Facebook page of that person, and all they do is to get drunk and get wasted. Are these people that we want on our national tour when we're doing this bus and truck thing with a different hotel every night? So that happens there. But no, everything should be like up to date, current, fun and real, and show your talent and yourself. Because I also want to be, can I work with these people? Also, too, everybody looks at these things. There'll be a time when I'll have a picture that's the headshot picture. I'm like, that does not look like her. Go on her Facebook page. Oh, great.
And then that's what she really looks like.
Yes. And then so I'll snap it out of the rest of the people on the beach and just have her. And that's the one that I'll send on, on my thumbnails to the producer, because that looks like her or him.
Yeah. So we have 15 seconds left. So thank you so much for this. We've had so many comments throughout, people saying that this was great advice. So thank you so much.
Terrence, it's been great. And I really appreciate you asking me. And I just wish all your clients well during this time, and stay safe, stay healthy.